may be a little late, but if anything, I'm not, given really the trade hasn't been finalized yet, but we all know it's going to happen. And it's the trade of Karl Anthony Towns getting sent to New York and Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo getting sent to the Timberwolves. And while I do have strong feelings about both sides of this trade, I think it's such an interesting and compelling trade. I think it's like a buzzer beater trade because they got it in right before media day, right before training camp even really starts. And it's rare you see stars get traded during training camp. So it makes sense why they did this so soon and all that. But before I even get into it, I think both these teams did something very up, and that's, I think, trading two guys who have been cornerstones of their franchise for the past few years, and in Cat's case for the past 10 years, without any notice. Because everything I've seen from Cat kind of indicates that they didn't tell him that he was going to get traded, which is very messed up given Cat was your number one overall pick. He's been there through thick and thin, and when things were bad, he never came out and demanded a trade, even though it would make a lot of sense for him to do that. And then when things start to get good again, you trade him. Of course, I understand why you do, but it's kind of messed up that you don't trade him without any notice. I'm not saying you're not allowed to trade him, but at least give this man a warning that he's going to be traded. He's given up a lot for the city of Minnesota. Even if it may not have resulted in wins all the time, he was there when, he probably shouldn't have wanted to be. And he didn't really complain about it. And he didn't even complain when you went and got Anthony Edwards, who replaced him as the number one option. He didn't complain. So I find that a little messed up. And then from the Knicks side, it's like, Julius Randle, a few days before this trade was announced, he did this whole drive about all the money that he raised for New York, and then you trade him. And it's like, Julius Randle chose to come to your team when things were looking very dim. He gave you hope when there was nothing. You signed him the same offseason that you whiffed on KD and Kyrie, and then he injected life into this city. He is the reason that New York is kind of back to what it is today. While, yes, he at times was, maybe something that held him back a little bit, but he was the thing to really jolt New York back and get them going again. He brought life into this city. I remember that year when he won Most Improved Player, and when I was making a legitimate case for him to be an MVP candidate, given how good he was and how much he just carried that New York team into the playoffs. But yeah, it's kind of messed up, but business is business. But at least tell somebody you're about to do business before you do said business. It would be kind of nice. Some warning, because it would be really bad if they found out when we found out. Like that would be bad. But anyway, to like the actual basketball aspect of this, I'm going to start with the New York Knicks. I really like this trade for the Knicks. One, it just doubles down on the fact that they believe this is their time, and they went out there and they got better. Even though I really like what Julius Randle brought to this team, and so did I really liked what Dante DiVincenzo brought, Karl Anthony Towns is a better player. Let's just call a spade a spade. Karl Anthony Towns is an all-NBA caliber talent, and while Julius Randle has been an all-NBA caliber player before, Karl Anthony Towns is just a better player. And honestly, he kind of brings you a lot of what you need right now. First of all, he's kind of the perfect second scoring option to have next to Jalen Brunson, given the one thing we learned about Karl Anthony Towns, especially these past few years with playing with Anthony Edwards, is he's not going to take away from the true number one. He knows his place. He knows his role. He knows how to be a number two. And that's really what this Knicks team needs, because even after they made the Mikal Bridges trade, a thought in my head was, so who's the number two? Of course it's going to be Julius Randle, but there are still currently questions whether Julius Randle will be healthy come opening day. Who's going to be that number two guy? Because while I love Mikal Bridges and love OG, those aren't number two scoring options. Yes, those can be number two players on your team, second best players, but I don't know about your number two scoring options. And then you have Cat. Like, Cat is going to fit into that role beautifully. He also offers a lot of space, and given he is the best jump shooting big that we've seen in the modern era, and by modern I mean like 2020s. I'm not going to disrespect Dirk like that. I think we've underrated Dirk, and it's okay to say Cat isn't as good of a shooter as Dirk, because Dirk was just out of this world, and honestly a little ahead of his time. I wish Dirk was able to play and grow as a player in this age, because we may be putting him in a lot of different conversations, or probably where he should rightfully be as one of the more talented and skilled bigs to really ever play this game. I apologize for that Dirk tangent. But yeah, he's going to offer a lot of shooting. He's going to be a great secondary option to Jalen Brunson. On some nights, he's going to be the number one option, because we've seen when Karl Anthony Towns goes nuclear, he goes nuclear. And that also brings up the point where his highs are far higher than Julius Randle's. It truly is. While Julius Randle was a really good player, and I thought personally he was going to fit right in with this Knicks team, so does Karl Anthony Towns. but his highs are higher. When Karl Anthony Towns chooses to go nuclear, he can get you damn near 60 points in the game. He has done that. When he gets hot, he gets extremely hot. And one thing he has shown us last year, the ability to want to play defense. And after last season with the Timberwolves, he showed that he can do that. He can go out there and guard on the perimeter if need be. Of course, you don't want him to do that, but if the situation presents itself, he is going to be fine. And honestly, they need a big depth. Mitchell Robinson is not going to be there to start the season. After Mitchell Robinson is like Jericho Sims and Precious Achiuwa, who are pretty good players. Precious Achiuwa showed a few really good signs in the playoffs last year, but those are not guys you want to rely a lot on. And they went out there and got another big. And honestly, I can't even say they got the best big available because I didn't even know Karl Anthony Towns was available. And they went out and got them. And then also I think what helps this trade is their depth. Because yes, trading, like in the perfect world, trading Julius Randle for Karl Anthony Towns is perfect. But of course you had to add in other things. And Dante DiVincenzo was that other piece. And while yes, that is a loss because I really do love Dante's game, they have someone who can replace his role in Miles McBride. While he may not be the same shooter Dante was, he can give you the same off-the-bench spark that Dante was going to give you because whether Dante liked it or not, he was going to come off the bench because they weren't sitting Mikal Bridges or OG. And right now, how the starting lineup currently looks and how it's probably going to look, opening night is going to be Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, OG, Josh Hart, and Karl Anthony Towns. And I personally really like that. And I think when Mitchell Robinson becomes available, you may see times where they go with the Twin Towers look and do Mitchell Robinson, Karl Anthony Towns, OG, Mikal, and Jalen Brunson, given who are they play, like given whatever matchup they may need, given that Karl has shown the ability to play the four and actually do it at a pretty high level, given he was on the team that was one of the best defenses in the league and had a shot to make it to the finals. So honestly, from the Knicks' perspective, I really love this trade. And I also love that they really didn't have to give away too many picks. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more when I get to the Minnesota Timberwolves. But yeah, the Knicks, to me, I want to say they won the trade, but we do have to see how this plays out. But on paper, so far, the Knicks have probably had the best offseason. I mean, they went out there and got the guy that they wanted to get, Mikal Bridges, and they got another all-star NBA caliber player when a lot of people didn't see one available. And honestly, we've all been waiting on the Knicks to make a move to go get a guy that caliber, and they did with Karl Anthony Towns. I think, like I said, like I keep on saying, he's going to slide in perfectly to that role with them. I really like this fit. Now to the Minnesota Timberwolves perspective. This trade is so interesting to me because while I may not really like it, I understand it. This is a move that you're going to have to make at some point. The thing about the Minnesota Timberwolves, they are becoming a very expensive team. Rudy Gobert got his bag. Jaden McDaniels got his bag. Nari got paid a little bit of good money. And then while I don't think they paid Anthony Edwards yet, they're going to have to pay Anthony Edwards a lot of money. This team was on the verge of becoming very expensive. So they were going to have to get rid of some piece. And it was either going to be Karl Anthony Towns, Jaden McDaniels, or Rudy Gobert. And they chose to get rid of Karl Anthony Towns. And it kind of makes the most sense given that I think we all thought on the open market would have the most value given that he probably has the higher upside out of all those players. And so I understand having to do it. And honestly, I do kind of like what you got back. I do like getting Dante DiVincenzo because that just gives you more scoring off the bench. And the one thing you saw with this Minnesota Timberwolves team last year, they didn't have many people to help take the pressure off Anthony Edwards and just make things easier for him. There wasn't too many other scoring options. And then you get to the other player they got in Julius Randle, who is so interesting because Julius Randle should work on this team. The idea and thought of Julius Randle should work because he provides everything they kind of need. He's not going to make your defense worse because when Julius Randle feels like it, he is a really good defender and versatile defender. Given he can play a little bit of the five, can maybe play a little bit of the wing if need be. Then he is somebody who can take the pressure off Anthony Edwards. While Karl Anthony Towns is definitely a better scorer than Julius Randle is much better with like the ball in his hands actually, scoring on the wing and having a little bit of versatility in the scoring. So he can really offer that. But then it's like you lose spacing. And the one thing about this Timberwolves team, when you really look at it, they don't have too many knockdown shooters. Yes, they went out there and got Dante DiVincenzo, who was one of the best shooters in the league last year percentage-wise. But it's like then you lose Cat, who was one of the best shooters in the league, period. But given his size, the position he played, he gave you a lot of versatility given you had the best shooting big in the league. Like, it made your spacing so interesting. It made the way you construct your roster so interesting. But now you lose that, and you add Julius Randle, who, yes, he can be a good shooter, but he's not the shooter Cat was. And he's definitely not the shooter Cat was off the dribble. He needs the ball in his hand. And honestly, while, yes, he's going to be able to take the pressure off Anthony Edwards, he's not going to have the ball in his hand as much as he is accustomed to. If he thought he didn't have the ball in his hand enough when he was with Jalen Brunson, it's going to get worse for Anthony Edwards. Now, I don't think he thought that. There's no telling what he thinks. I don't want to tell the world or tell a player what he or she is thinking, but, that's definitely a question. Because like I said, the idea of Julius Randle should work with this team, but will it work? And then the other kind of problem I have for Minnesota is they did not get any draft compensation. Yes, they got a protected first-round pick. The Knicks sent a protected first-round pick over from the Detroit Pistons that have a lot of protections on it, and that if it doesn't convey in these certain years, it will just kick back to a second-round pick. And if I'm the Timberwolves, if I'm trading Karl-Anthony Towns, yes, I want players that can help me win now, but I also do want picks. Given you mortgage your entire future to go out there and get Rudy Gobert, and then you mortgage even more of your future, even though it may not be a lot, even though it was a little bit, you mortgage some of your future to go out there and get Rob Dillingham. So I would have personally liked for them to get draft compensation. Only getting one protected pick that could possibly turn into a second-round pick does not incite me too much. I know they're trying to win now, but let's keep it above. There is no guarantee you're going to be as good as last season because, one, it's just hard to win. It's hard to get deep into the playoffs. Ask Chris Paul. Ask all these players and teams that just have never been able to get over the hump. And also, the West is getting better. For what we say about the Suns got better in the offseason. You're going to have young up-and-coming teams looking to take playoff position and take wins from you. Oklahoma City got better as a whole. You have the Memphis Grizzlies are now bursting back onto the scene. The Lakers, for what it's worth, are still the Lakers, so they're still going to be a tough draw. The Denver Nuggets, while they did get worse in some areas, they're still the Denver Nuggets. You have to put respect on their name. The West has gotten better, and combined with the fact that it's just hard to win, there's no telling that you're going to be able to do what you did last year all over again. I believe the Minnesota Timberwolves, while I do believe that they were a really, really good team, they also got a chance to catch lightning in the bottle. And then also the Dallas Mavericks got better. It's just, I don't like mortgaging your future when, the odds of you winning are so slim. I would have really loved for them to go out there and get some type of pick compensation for Karl-Anthony Towns because you can't tell me that another team wouldn't offer you picks. Now, I do understand wanting to get players to win now because you are, as your fans see and as you guys probably see it, you're in a win now situation, which I completely understand. But again, I would have just loved picks. I think this trade is so interesting, and it's going to be so interesting because we just have to see how this plays out. How will Minnesota's season go? Because as of right now, there's no telling if Julius Randle will even be good opening night. So it's going to take us a second to really see if this truly fits. And as we kind of saw with the Rudy Gobert thing with Minnesota, it's probably going to take more than a year to see if this trade works out. That first year after they traded for Rudy Gobert, everybody was calling it the worst trade in history. Then the immediate next year, they were the best defense in basketball and they made it to the Western Conference Finals. So we have to be a little bit patient with this deal to see if it's going to work out in Minnesota's favor because, that's what happened last time. But, we just have to see how this all plays out. But I think this is so interesting. I did not see this coming. And this makes the NBA so much more interesting. And I love that. Keep doing these trades. I need somebody else to be traded. Somebody demand a trade.